What's up, guys? I'm BTC. There's been a supposed leak that Sombra is getting a nerf. Also, Blizzard talks about the possibility of forest and underwater maps. Yesterday, I made a video talking about all the different crowd control available in Overwatch and even some potential things that they could add. Most of you seem pretty okay with the idea of crowd control as long as it's not too spammy or it doesn't completely lock you down. Now, with the Sombra change, that has kind of caused a little bit of a problem with a lot of players because, well, where before the Sombra hack was something that you could use, but it was a little bit more difficult because it took almost a full second to use it, and it got interrupted quite frequently. Now, you can use the hack, and it almost never gets interrupted. Unless someone is already looking at you and already attacking you, then you can pretty much hack almost any character you want. So that brings up the question, does Sombra need a nerf? And one of the pro players in the Contenders League seems to have kind of accidentally leaked this information. I don't know if it really counts as a leak or not, and you kind of have to take this with a grain of salt because of the way he talks about it and stuff. But anyways, so this streamer is named Zachary. He plays for the Fusion University, which is the Contenders team owned by the Philadelphia Fusion. So in case you don't know, you have the Overwatch League at the top and then the Contenders League right below it. So these guys are like one step down from the best in the world. Anyways, he said that he and many other... Actually, his exact wording was that every Overwatch League player and every Contenders player has talked to Blizzard and complained about how it's too strong and it needs to be nerfed. Whenever someone says everyone like that, you have to kind of take it with a grain of salt because they're probably exaggerating a little bit. But regardless, he did say that Blizzard is looking at nerfing Sombra because of this. There is kind of a big issue with this, though. Sombra isn't doing that much better now than she did prior to the buffs. So in case you didn't know, since the character has been in game, Sombra has had one of the lowest win rates of all the characters. Usually it's dead last. It actually moved up ever so slightly. But since the buff, the character really hasn't seen any significant increase in the win rate of the character. Now, with other changes, like for example, when D.Va got buffed, we saw an instant jump in the amount of win percentage that she got. Same thing with Mercy, when they did that huge original change, right? When Mercy could res like 4 times, you saw a massive jump in her win rate. Now, as far as the pro scene goes, right now in the Overwatch League, they don't have access to the new Sombra stuff because they only changed the patch during the new stages. But they are using the new Sombra during the Contenders, which is where this particular streamer plays. And here's the thing, the team that runs Sombra almost always loses. So if the character actually is that powerful, why is it that not all of the teams are using it? And 2, why is it that the teams that do use it end up losing? The character went from pretty bad to basically viable. I don't think it's overpowered in any way. But regardless of that, there still is a legitimate issue with the character that can be really frustrating. And that's the fact that line of sight and special evasion abilities don't prevent the hack. It's kind of similar to how the old Roadhog Hook 1.0 worked, where there was no line of sight break. So if you started to use the ability on someone, if you threw the hook and it landed on someone, they could go around a wall or whatever, and it would still grab them and it would still pull them. Well, now hack is working the exact same way. You can use your hack on somebody, and even if they use some sort of evasion ability or they go behind a wall, they break line of sight in whatever way, then the hack still goes off. And this is really frustrating to people because, first of all, it's really difficult to avoid the hack already because it's so fast, but now when you do successfully avoid it, it still treats it as if you got hit by it, and that's really frustrating for players. So I certainly think that should be fixed, but if there's any other nerfs to the character, like duration or cast time, or they reduce her damage, it's just gonna take her from being a viable character and dumping her back down into garbage land with the lowest win rate in the game. It just doesn't make any sense. So yes, fix the line of sight issue, but don't nerf the character beyond that. Funny thing, I've been getting people asking me if I have a Twitter or an Instagram or any of that stuff. Yes, all of those links are down below. The Twitter is on the screen right now. Go and follow. Moving on, we got some possible new map ideas from Blizzard. This is David Adams, the principal level designer, responding to some questions about underwater maps and forest maps. He says, lots of cool ideas. We always talk about the Galapagos map because the concept art was awesome, and we really wanted to do an underwater map. Maybe someday. We have had a lot of cool forest ideas, however, lots of trees are expensive to draw. The original Eichenwald started in a forest and moved up to a castle, was just too much, but also could be possible at some point. So for the water map, this is kind of like the situation that they had with the Horizon Lunar Colony, where there's the low gravity, where everybody kind of just moves around and floats really slowly, you can jump really high. The issue is those kinds of areas just completely destroy any sense of game balance. Certain characters that have really long-range abilities like Widowmaker and Hanzo would just be so unbelievably overpowered when dealing with other players who have to move very slowly across an area. It just wouldn't work. Also, on top of that, I don't think Blizzard would ever include an area where you actually have to swim. If they do include water, I think at most it's just going to be another novelty like the low grav area on Horizon. Or they could do something kind of like a conveyor belt, where when you're in the water, it's probably like knee-high, and what would happen is if you're moving with the current, you move a little bit faster. If you're moving against the current, then you move a little bit slower. So that could possibly work out, but I don't know if they would actually do that or not. As far as the forest maps, when he says that it's too expensive to draw, he's not talking about like their artists, you know, have to be paid overtime or something in order to draw all these extra trees. That's not what he's talking about. He's referring to the resources that your computer needs to spend in order to create all of the objects that are in a map. So when you have buildings and other very large structures, it's really easy because there's just a couple of things that they need to put in. But when you have trees that might have moving branches or leaves or something rustling in the wind, and then you have, you know, complete different sides, you have to go all the way around the tree and it needs to be more kind of rounded. That takes a lot of resources on your computer, and the more that you have, the slower everything gets down, the lower your frame rates drop and that sort of stuff. So they still want the game to be still accessible by the majority of people that play. And of course, obviously on consoles, there are certain strict limitations that they just can't go beyond, because it's not like a computer where you can just upgrade your video card or anything like that. So tell me what you guys think about the possible Sombra nerfs. Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching. Make sure to check out my Discord server. Follow me on Twitch and Twitter. The links for that stuff are down below. And remember, always blame the controller, because it's never your fault. Also, special thanks to all my Patreon supporters for helping to make this all possible. If you'd like to see what kind of cool rewards you can get for supporting the channel, check the links on screen and down below.